It might be that when you open in Unreal, you might be like, Tiago, my interface looks a little bit different than yours. What exactly is happening? So the reason for that is because every time you're working with Unreal, it saves your last used layout for the next time that you open any other project. So what I'm going to do, in order for us to be on the same page, I'm going to show to you how to reset your interface. And that's going to come handy if by any chance you start to move stuff around, and then you close stuff and you're just like, oh my God, I have no idea where my viewport is. So in order to do that, it's really straightforward. Just go to Window, go all the way down to Load Layouts, and just use the default editor layout. And there you go. This is how Unreal should be opening for you. I'm going to navigate to the interface and explain to you what each one of the things do and how you can manipulate the objects too. If this is the first time that you're using a 3D package, DCC, or if you come from Unity, or if your background is coming from like a Maya or something like that, you're gonna recognize this. This is what we call the viewport. Essentially, everything that we see here is the world that we can interact with. Under the hood, without you knowing, this is also the level that we have active. So we're gonna be always interacting with levels inside Unreal. By default, Unreal opens this in a huge environment. Okay, it's using a technology called world partition. It's my recommendation that we do not do work in this. It becomes a little bit more complex, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible. Okay, so this is your viewport. You see I'm moving around by holding and dragging my mouse with the right click. So essentially I'm looking around my environment. Right click, hold, and drag your mouse. If I go right click, W, and I lightly press or I hold, I move forward. And as I'm moving forward, I can even move my mouse around, and that will also allow me to navigate more easily. If I hold right click of my mouse and lightly touch S or hold S, I'm going backwards. And I can still do that by moving my mouse around to change the direction that I'm facing. If I hold my right click, you see the crosshair in the center of the screen disappears. That essentially means that you're now manipulating the camera. And I lightly touch A or hold A, I'm going left. Which means if you ever play a FPS game in your life, D will go right. So we are essentially playing with WASD. Every FPS in the computer uses those functionalities. The only difference is, in the case of Unreal, you're going to right click and hold and press those buttons. The reason for this is because W is used for something else. So all those hotkeys are used for something else, and essentially you're holding the right click to essentially tell Unreal, say, this is how I'm going to navigate the viewport. So just hold the right click and click those buttons. There are some other handy hotkeys for you too. It's still manipulating the camera. If I hold the right click and I press Q, or I hold Q, I go down. If I press and hold E, I go up. So now, by just holding right click, Q, E, W, A, S, D, you can navigate pretty much everywhere. If I hold the right click and I lightly touch Z, I start to zoom out. And I keep holding the right click until I release it, the camera goes back to normal. If I want to zoom in, just right click and press C, and you can zoom in. And if you release the right click, the camera goes back to normal. So essentially the first 9 keys on the left side of your keyboard, when holding the right click, they're essentially used to navigate the viewport. There's another interesting combination too. If you hold right click and left click together and you move a mouse, you're essentially doing a pan locked into 2 axes. So I'm moving into Y and Z right now. And I'd be asking, Tiago, how do you know which axis that you're doing this? Well, if you look to the bottom left corner of the screen, you can see that I have a small gizmo indication. It's telling me that I'm moving up and down in Z, left and right in Y. Now check this out. If I release the right click and I just hold the left click, I can now push forward and backwards. I'm locked in X and Y now. And if I want to go up, I just need to click with the right click and just go up now. Y and Z. The reason why I'm showing you this is because sometimes you want to get very close to something and WASD is just too much. So it's much easier to navigate using just your mouse, holding right and the left click together. All right, here's another one that I really like. I'm gonna move my camera back and I'm gonna look at this icon here in my viewport. If I hold Alt and with the left click, I can do this interesting rotating around an orbit movement. I love it when I'm seeing stuff in the viewport and I just want to interact with the objects and I just want to orbit around a little bit. I think it's mad useful. Coincidentally, you can also hold your middle click or your mouse wheel to move around and pan around. Also, if you have a mouse wheel on your mouse, you can literally scroll up and scroll down to zoom in and zoom out. The reason why I'm showing you all these different ways of navigating the viewport is because I think many people will come from different softwares and they have preferences. I use a 3D modeling software called Modo for the longest years, and I really like the panning and rotating orbit around. So people might come from Maya, they have a way to navigate the viewport that they're more comfortable with. So it's good to know all the possible options that you have. We're going to come back to manipulating assets in the viewport in a minute, but I just want to grab your attention and have you focus on the top left and top right of your viewport. There's a lot of information that's being displayed here, and I want to explain to you exactly what are these buttons and what exactly they do. So starting on the top left, you see the three bars. This is essentially control for your viewport. You can create screenshots from this. You can change the field of view of your camera. You can show the FPS in your viewport, as you can see here on the right. So there's a lot of functionality here that you can play with. And I recommend you dive deep in this and really use it to your benefit. Like if you really like this framing, you can even go here and just create a camera straight from this menu. It's essentially like a fast menu for stuff that you might be using often. Right beside it, probably one of the buttons that you're going to use the most is your viewport control. So check this out. By default, you have the perspective viewport. But every now and then you might want to change to another type of viewport. So you can just go here and say set a perspective. I'm just going to go to the top perspective. And now you have your top perspective. And look at the button on the side is set to wireframe. But you can change to lit. That is the material that we had before. So this is essentially how you access multiple views inside Unreal. I often have a lot of people that come from other softwares. They're just trying to learn Unreal. They're like, oh my God, they really miss that 4-view option. Well, you can either do this, and notice Unreal gives you the hotkey that is used to get the viewport access, or if you want to really use the 4 perspectives, top, left and right in perspective, you can just go to the top right here. I said bottom, my mistake, but it's top right. You see there's like a icon of 4 squares, and if you click on it, now your viewport mimics the other 3D softwares, and you can just keep doing this and just go here and maximize this view, or lower it and maximize this view. Personally, I don't think I ever use the functionality, but I know that for some people that's important, especially if you're trying to understand the viewport inside Unreal, the world in Unreal, so you know exactly how to achieve that. 2 options, either go to the top right and click in here and maximize the view that you need, or just go here and change for the view that you like to access. Cycling through perspective and orthographic views on the top left is not the only cool stuff that we have here. You notice I spoke briefly about lit in passing because we were inside top, and I say, look at that, it's in perspective, it's in wireframe, but if I change to lit, I can see colors. Lit is essentially the Unreal way of saying that this is fully shaded. The icon kind of gives you an idea of what it's talking about. It's like a sphere with a blink, reflection, some specular. So essentially Unreal telling you this is the best representation of the final product. If you were doing a game, the game is going to look like this essentially. And if you click on that menu, you have access to a lot of other interesting ways to visualize your world. You can see no light and shadow information whatsoever. So you have an unlit shader. You can see the wireframe. You can see your lit wireframe, which is very useful. So it's essentially the wireframe overlaying the geometry and the world. You have a detail lagging, which is essentially lagging information, and so much more. I highly recommend you explore it, and you can check the documentation for more information about this. And again, remember, Unreal has a hotkey for the most used actions inside the engine. So every time you're like curious, just hover and you're gonna see there's gonna always have a hotkey available. This is also where we visualize stuff like collisions and nanite visualizations and stuff like that. So we're gonna be using this menu a lot. We're gonna be cycling through it quite often, to be honest. Right beside it, you have a show flag. So essentially you can enable and disable stuff. So you see your collision here, Alt-C, I can see the collision of my world. I can go to show here and disable that. Maybe I don't want to see the clouds in the sky, that's disabled. So there's a lot of controls here to manipulate how the world's being displayed to you. If you press play, even though you have some stuff that might be hidden here, it's still going to show up in the gameplay. This is essentially a flag for you to just enable and disable to quickly, at a glance, see what's happening. There is a log in advance that is very useful too. And of course, the hotkeys, remember then, if it's there, it's because it's being used quite a lot.